hustled all the way up. I saw people encouraging one another. You not only focused on keeping yourself and your partner straight, but you also, and safe, but you also were encouraging people all the way up. I really, really appreciate that. Great job. Give yourselves one more hand. All right. Great.
Plans are in the works to relocate the school, but until then, evacuation drills will continue. It's the only way to prevent a catastrophe. The last tsunami hit Cannon Beach 30 years ago. And in the school playground, there's chilling evidence of its power. The steel swing set bears scars inflicted by trees, uprooted and hurled about by the waves. Fortunately, that tsunami struck at night when the schoolyard was empty. The next one could happen any time. Cannon Beach is well aware of the dangers of tsunami, but there are other towns at risk along the Pacific coast, and many of them are simply unprepared.
For the state of Washington, there's a resort area called Long Beach. It's a low-lying sand barrier, and during the summer months, sometimes there's as many as 40 or 50,000 people that are out there in recreational activities. That would be by far the worst-case scenario because there's only one way out of that, and that poses a very gruesome picture. Probably the people could not evacuate in time, and anything that's not reinforced concrete will be wiped out, and it becomes timber in the water then, causing more damage because now it's incorporated as part of the wave. Automobiles would become floating objects and they'd be propelled all over the place. So as a wave sweeps back and forth across, it would probably just bulldoze and leave probably 6 or 8 inches of sand. So when it's all over, it'll be a nice, smooth, sandy beach without any of man's structures on it anymore.
Warning systems and evacuation procedures are well established here in Hawaii, but they're only effective if people trust them.
This is an update on the Civil Defense Tsunami Alert. At this time, you are advised to stay in your room until further notice. Roads out of Waikiki are now closed.
In 1994, a tsunami warning was issued here, and beaches were evacuated throughout the islands. 300,000 people responded, but this tsunami alert may have done more harm than good.
Well, in 1994, there was a large earthquake in the Northwest Pacific Ocean. It was big enough to have generated a Pacific-wide tsunami. The early indications were that there was significant run-up of the water in the tidal stations closest to the earthquake. So the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center declared a tsunami warning. They accurately predicted the arrival time of the waves, but they are incapable of predicting how large the waves are actually going to be. When tsunamis occur as rarely as they do, and with as little money as is available for research, we as yet just don't know how to predict how large the waves will be. So in Hawaii, the waves came ashore 6 inches high, and unfortunately most of the public interprets that as a false alarm, when in fact it's just our lack of understanding. It could have been a potentially devastating tsunami.
The problem with over-warning people is, of course, they lose confidence in the system. They'll say, oh, another false alarm, and we won't bother. Or the flip side of this is they become so cavalier about it, they actually will go to the beach to see what it is. So I think it's incumbent upon us as scientists to try to find a more accurate way of forecasting the effects of these.
Now the technology finally exists to do just that. In a government warehouse near Dr. Bernard's office, you can see the future of tsunami forecasting. A 20-foot signal buoy, coupled with advanced wave sensors, could put an end to false alarms and help save lives. Anchored in the middle of the ocean as part of a Pacific-wide network, the system will make it possible to predict the height of tsunami waves, as well as when and where they'll strike. Undersea gauges will take the precise measure of each passing wave and transmit the data to the buoy floating above. A satellite will complete the link to the Tsunami Warning Center. The new system could eliminate false alarms and build public confidence in the tsunami warning system. But there are certain types of tsunamis that can strike so suddenly and with such force that even the most sophisticated system would be unable to provide a warning.
Here in the Hawaiian Islands, where all of the land is built by volcanic eruptions, the islands grow up from the sea floor, and then periodically the sides slide back down onto the ocean floor. They've created magnificent cliffs along the sides of all of the islands in the chain. But when those chunks of the island slide off onto the Pacific Ocean floor as huge landslides and debris flows, they have the potential to generate giant destructive tsunamis. And there's evidence that they have created waves as high as 1,000 feet on some of the islands of the past.
These landslide waves may be part of Hawaii's future as well as its past. Here on the Big Island, a huge crack in the earth is opening up. It's 60 miles long, and it's growing wider every year. Some scientists think it's gradually detaching one side of the island from the other.
The Great Crack is one of these fault zones. At one time it may have actually had magma in it, but now it's probably serving more like a hinge where part of the island is beginning to slide down and may someday slip away toward the ocean floor.
A 1,000-foot tsunami on the coast of Hawaii would be catastrophic. But a giant tsunami could happen anywhere, even without earthquakes, volcanoes, or landslides. A few scientists are beginning to examine another possible cause, extremely remote, but terrifying.
Recently, the effects of a meteor impact have been studied. Depending on the size of the meteor, you could have some very destructive waves generated by a splashing of a meteor in the ocean. You could have a wave formed hundreds of feet high. It is probably the surprise no one's prepared for.
A giant tsunami generated by a meteor may only happen once every few thousand years. But it doesn't take a giant tsunami to devastate a community. At the Memorial Park near Hilo, where the Lapahoihoi School once stood, today's students gather with survivors on the 50th anniversary of the tragedy.
People ask me if we have another tsunami, and I say no, it's not if we have a tsunami, it's when the next tsunami strikes, because there will definitely be another one. It might not be this year or next or even this decade, but it could be tomorrow as well.
In Hawaii, they know what a tsunami can do. The rest of us would be wise to listen to their lament and learn from their experience.